Everyone, Dr. Kirsten here from Chiropractic, and today I'm here to talk to you about sensory issues and sensory struggles with our kiddos that we see in our office all the time. So these kids, if you're a parent, this is something you might notice in kids yourself, where your kids can't handle things like certain textures, certain clothings. They might even chew on their shirt all the time. They can't just relax and calm down. They have a tough time with transitions, especially the transition from school into summertime right now, and then back again in August when they transition from summer back to school. Things like that just might make them spiral out of control. We also see some issues with certain types of clothing like collars, jeans, shirts that they just don't like to put on. Sometimes they struggle with simple things like haircuts that you or I could do with no problem. These kids will struggle with loud noises, any type of over-sensory stimulation they just cannot handle. And this is because their brain is just overwhelmed. And so this is a video where I'm going to explain exactly what we do in our office, how we measure this brain overwhelm, and basically how we can help these kiddos with these sensory issues that they're dealing with. So these might seem like small issues that they're dealing with all the time, but these small struggles can turn into bigger emotional challenges later on, especially socially. Like if a kiddo can't go to a birthday party without having a meltdown, that's going to be really hard on the family, on you as a parent, and just the whole dynamic, especially if they have siblings, and it's constantly a struggle with those siblings as well. So for many parents like you find it really hard to find answers for your kiddo, especially holistically, because you don't want them being on any prescription medication. You don't want to intervene in a very strong way. Therapy can be super expensive sometimes, and it's something where you're not too sure if that really is the root answer for your child. And so what we're finding in our office, this can look like a lot of things, and we really like to look back to the root cause of every single issue that these kiddos are dealing with. So in school, this can look like kids chewing on their shirts constantly. We see that a ton. They can be biting on their pencils all the time, like chewing on those erasers. They can be nail biting. They can be having full-blown meltdowns when they try to get a haircut, or even attending those birthday parties. So this can be super tough for you, and you definitely want to find the root cause and the root answers for your child without too much intervention and too much stress for them. So we want to look at the developmental pathway that is causing this. Like, what is causing these sensory issues in our kids? So we have to look from the very beginning. So this is basically going to be a map that I'm going to show you that shows the developmental pathways that these build on from a young age. So this can start from the birth process and in the in utero experience. And so here's a map over here that I'm going to show you. And so basically in the first phase here, we are seeing how at the bottom of the pyramid, we have our intro to our life. So our brain and our nervous system are forming in utero. And this is a very crucial time for these babies because mom, everything she is sensing and experiencing in her environment has an effect on these babies. And so this is actually something where kids in utero can experience stress before they're even born. So that is something that we ask about in our office. How stressful was mom's pregnancy? Was it difficult to conceive? Was there IVF? All these different things that can contribute to stress in utero. Then we have their delivery. In their delivery, were there things used like forceps? Was there any interventions used? Did they have epidural, Pitocin? Was it a C-section birth? All these different things that affect their first sensory experience when they come into this world. That is a very important experience because these kiddos can have either a parasympathetic response when they come into the world where everything's peaceful and calm and not overstimulating, or it can be a very stressful response where they come into the world and there's all these different interventions used, and their first immediate response to life is sympathetic overdrive, fight or flight, which we definitely don't want these babies to be in at all. So babies' main three jobs are to eat, sleep, and poop, as you see here in the next stage of the development. So the things that we look for in our office are, how are they latching? Do they have an overall calm demeanor with the world? Are they pooping well? Are they constipated? Is there issues with their plumbing? How are they eating, sleeping, and pooping? So when we see issues with these things after that birth trauma, if there is any birth trauma, that can turn into bigger issues later on. So then we look to the next part. So as I put here, this is where we start seeing the sensory integration struggles in our office. So a lot of parents don't have that alarm system go off until they see their child having issues with walking, crawling, even rolling over. So the child might favor one side versus the other. They might have issues where they're crawling improperly, which is sending mixed signals to the brain. They could be scooting on their bum. They could be lifting one knee. They could be doing any sort of abnormal motor development, and that is going to affect their brain later on even more. So basically, nerves that fire together wire together. So if we're seeing issues with their movement, that is sending the wrong signals to their brain, which is not setting it up for the next stage in the future, which is their social, emotional, behavioral responses to life. So that's the big brain that we're talking about up here. So that is our forebrain, and where we're basically using it for all of our social gatherings, how we respond to our world. Are we stressed? Are we emotional? How is our mood every day? So this is the part where a lot of parents will start bringing their kids into our office at ages 4 or 5, when after they're seeing their movements off, their coordination's off, they're having a lot of just sensory issues. This is where they're having struggles with responding to their environment properly. So they're having mixed signals going to the brain, and therefore they're having mixed reactions to their environment. And so when we see issues early on with the birth process, stressful pregnancy, lots of interventions in birth, this leads to issues later on with their colicky, they're not sleeping well, they're not latching well, they're not pooping properly, they're having all sorts of issues early on. This then translates to more higher level issues when they're kiddos. So when they're 4 or 5, they all of a sudden cannot have people touch their head or their neck. They can't wear certain clothing. All these different things that we see in our office is very common when we see birth trauma. So that is a big thing that we ask about in our office, because there's good news with all of this. These sensory struggles do not have to happen. These kids are basically responding because they've been in that fight or flight, that sympathetic overdrive from a very young age, and that is just simply how they're used to responding to their environment. But in our office, we actually have awesome tests and non-invasive scans that measure where they're holding that stress, where that overstimulation is happening in their nervous system and in their body, so that we can help them release that, so that they don't have to have those mixed messages going to their brain. They don't have to have stress coming in and then stress going out. They don't have to have those big emotional responses to simple things that they're doing every single day. And then they can poop better, sleep better, eat better, integrate their world and their environment better, and not have those awkward sensory struggles later on, especially in social environments, because we want our kids to thrive. So this is where we come in as a pediatric-focused, nervous system-focused chiropractic office. This is the good message that I want to tell to all of you parents, because this is something that you might have been researching a ton about your kiddo and wondering why they feel the need to do this one thing constantly, because their brain is overwhelmed. And that's where we come in. We see where their brain is being overwhelmed in their body. We help them release that gently, and we can help them just become normal, functioning kiddos that can respond to things properly and effectively. So if this sounds like you or your child, or you're seeing this in kids in your community, please let them know about this video. Please share the message that I've just shared with you, and let them know that there are answers out there, and there are definitely holistic answers that you're looking for. We just have to find the root cause of what that issue might be for your child in particular. So again, my name's Dr. Kirsten. We're going to have a link below that you can comment if this is something that you've been struggling with or you're noticing in your life, and just give us a call if you need a referral for anyone in your community that might need this type of care for their child. So thank you very much. I hope this message found you well, and have a wonderful day.